Produced by Victoire.
Masters of Wrestling gives a special thanks to Mr. Jesse Hernandez and the EWF. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Stylin' with Rico and Amir. I am one of your co-stars, one-third of Delirium, the Master Amir, along with my co-star. Ladies and gentlemen, he is a WWE Tag Team Champion. He is the 1990-91 American Gladiator Champion. He is the stylist, Rico Costantino.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back, and thank you for tuning in. Yes, I am the stylist, Rico Costantino, and we have a great show for you today. Oh my gosh, I can't believe what we're going to discuss today. Master, tell them what we're going to discuss.
Oh, I tell you, we're going to be discussing some breaking news. WWE superstar The Miz has now found his way into the American Gladiator alumni.
Who?
Rico.
The what?
The Miz. I know.
Who's that?
Well, we're going to get into that, Rico.
Okay.
Today on the show. But first and foremost, I see you there on a beach out in the tropics.
Yes.
So what are you taking a vacation, Rico?
I have to be a little selfish. The stylist has to be selfish. I got to put my toes in the sand. I have to smell the ocean water. I just have to take some time for myself, rejuvenate, recover, so I can be the best that I can be for everybody else.
Totally understandable. And I tell you what else would be great. Rico, what do you want all of our viewers, all of our fans to do right now?
I want you to hit that subscribe button right now, share it, and hit the like, because this is a show you don't want to miss.
Absolutely. You do.
So hit that red button, hit the subscribe right now.
That's right.
Don't hesitate, penetrate.
That's right. Or initiate, right there, right? Is it? But don't hesitate, initiate. That was it.
Oh, okay. There. Sorry.
We could get in trouble for that other one. But by the by, as Rico said, make sure you lay the smackdown on that subscribe button right now, like it and share. I also want to bring to everyone's attention right now, if you want to support this channel and support the content that we produce for you, you can do so using the Cash App. It is the $ Masters of Wrestling. If you want to support this content, we love producing this for you. Also, if you want to support us by using a super chat or a super gift, you can do that using the YouTube. I mean, you can look at your buttons there, and I'm sure you can figure that out, and we greatly appreciate that too.
I'm using one of the super gifts now, my iced coffee right now. I'm using one of the super gifts that our fans has given us. So I will take a toast to them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Amir,
yep.
Do you have your cup?
I do have my cup.
Cheers.
Cheers, everybody. Cheers. Delicious. Absolutely delicious. Rico, I also want to remind our fans, if they want to get their hands on the original Stylin' the Podcast t-shirts, which I am wearing, I always wear it now on the podcast, you can do so by using the email address in the description of this video. Get in contact with us. Tell us your size. Give us your location. And you can pay using the Cash App or reach out in the email and we will provide you a telephone number which you can Zelle us at. T-shirts are $45, including shipping and handling within these here United States.
Continental.
Yes, within his continental United States. So I think we've got the announcements out of the way. Oh, forgive me. One more announcement. Rico, remember, we've got our part 3 coming up live of the Chris Benoit investigation with Aaron Stevens coming back and Kenny Bolin. That's coming up soon. Have you done your investigations yet? Have you got some other information for us?
I've had calls put out and I have done my homework.
Yep.
So stay tuned for that.
Stay tuned to that. The only way you're going to see that is by subscribing to this channel and you'll get those notifications. That will be a live champions. They're not born in the gym. It starts from the inside and it works its way out. Do you feel it more difficult to obtain muscle? Are you tired or perhaps depressed? Then there's a solution. Our brand new partner and sponsor, Care Aesthetics of La Quinta, are here to help you get restored to optimal health. Just use the contact information in this video and schedule your free consultation. Be sure to mention the name of the podcast, whether that be Power and Glory, Styling, Masterclass, or Hey Roma, when doing so. We wish you all the best in your road to optimized health. And now, back to the show. You'll get those notifications. That will be a live show, so you can interact with us while we're doing that particular show. Of course, as we get closer to that, we will give you the details of the date and time, etc., etc. But for now,
I'd love to hear from people and their questions, because I have questions myself. Everybody's got questions. And if you don't let us know what to investigate or what questions you have, it's kind of limiting us. So be a part of it. When we go live with this Chris Benoit tragedy, be a part of the show and put in your question, please, because that's how things get answered. Questions, and somebody could have a question that nobody's ever thought about, which could uproot an investigation.
Yeah.
And I've been part of several of those where people have come up, and I'll name one, the Ted Binion investigation, where the police just called it accidental overdose, and it wasn't. And I was really close to that case because I bailed out the ranch hand and the construction guy for $100,000 apiece until a private investigator came up and asked questions. And now it went from an accidental overdose to a homicide. And those people were put in jail. So who knows what we can uncover if the fans participate, the subscribers participate. Who knows what question could spark an investigation?
Yep.
And that's what I'm all about, getting to the truth.
Amen.
And I know you are too, Amir.
Yep.
Let's get to the truth.
Yep. Like we said a couple of weeks ago, I think, God put it on my spirit that something didn't quite sit right with this Chris Benoit story. And we started prying into it and things started to develop. And much like, talking of other stories that are hitting the headlines right now, the Diddy case that started a few days ago, it's you prying.
Oh my gosh.
You look into things more, you may find surprises that weren't initially there on the surface. So again, and for those new viewers and those who aren't aware, Rico was law enforcement. He is retired law enforcement. So again, he has that credential. He has that credibility. So know that when we investigate this,
I have been a city cop, a county cop, a state cop, and a federal cop. I have intertwined myself in all branches. I've been schooled and taught in all branches of law enforcement.
Yeah.
So, and I will be using all of that and all my connections to get to a reasonable answer so people will understand. I just want the truth to come out.
Yep.
And when I was in high school, my passion was the JFK assassination.
That's right.
My freshman, sophomore, junior, and senior year, I wrote thesis papers on that assassination. And every year I wrote it, something new came about that I had to write about. And it was my passion.
Yeah.
And I really want to get to the bottom of this Chris Benoit thing and kind of settle it.
Yeah, for sure. That's exactly what we're going to be doing, Rico. And, hopefully all of you, our subscribers, our viewers, can help us with this endeavor. Like I said, the only way you're going to be able to do that is to lay the smack down on that subscribe button. Make sure you tune in, follow us across our social media platforms as we drop the information closer to that live show. I also want to remind everybody, switching gears, Pat Tanaka of the WWE's The Orient Express will be joining us next week. Okay, it'll be his
wonderful man.
Wonderful individual.
Wonderful man. Yes,
wonderful
he was.
Individual. A good friend of Marty Jannetty, who joined us last week on the show.
Oh, boy, that show was fantastic. Mr. Jannetty, my gosh.
Yeah.
I couldn't have asked anything, and he gave everything.
Yeah.
Uh, and he was smiling through his ups and through his downs, through his careers. And I am so glad to see him happy, healthy, and he's he's not following that other path.
No.
He is
No.
now breaking free from it.
No.
I am just so happy.
Yeah.
And there's so much life in his eyes.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he wants to give back.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
I am just so glad he appeared on our show.
Yep, that's another quick announcement. God, we got so many announcements this week, ladies and gentlemen. Gosh.
Hold
Um,
on, hold on. I'm taking in the breeze. Go ahead.
okay,
You
all right.
announce.
Take a moment, take a
I'm
moment.
taking the breeze.
We've got a wrestling journalist who will be joining us on occasion now, shortly. So this individual worked directly with the Ultimate Warrior. Of course, everybody who's fans of us knows that both Rico and myself were huge admirers of the work that Jim Hellwig, the Ultimate Warrior, put forth in the world of pro wrestling. So, and I believe that will be the first episode he will join us in. We will be doing a very deep dive into the man behind the paint. Who really was Jim Hellwig in the Ultimate Warrior? There's been so much controversy over the years. Some people say he was a good guy. Some people say he was a scumbag. You know, it's all across the board. Majority have thought the negative of him. However, we've got an individual who worked directly with him who has quite the contrary to say. So,
And we have proof.
yeah,
We have proof.
yeah,
So
yeah.
this is not just talk. We have evidence that he really did.
Yeah. And he was really passionate about what he did. But now we're going to jump into the show. We're going to start this week, of course, for viewers who may not be aware, Rico is the 1990-91 American Gladiators champion. He did a fantastic outing in that show. But recently, Rico, The Miz, current WWE superstar, yes, former reality show TV star, The Miz, has been announced to be the new host of the rebooted American Gladiator series. Now, I particularly took offense to this because if anybody is mentioned, if WWE is getting involved with American Gladiators, they should not be doing so without you involved, Rico, because you are the 1991 champion. Now, let's talk a little bit about The Miz quickly, first and foremost. So Miz came in right after you, or right about the time you were about to depart from WWE. Did you two
No,
ever
OVW. Depart from
OVW
OVW.
from
Yeah.
OVW? Did you ever cross paths? Did you ever physically talk to the Miz?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kenny Bolin, the Round Mound of Sound, my famous manager who believed in me.
Yep.
We went out to an eating function and I got to meet the Miz and stuff like that. And Kenny and I talked before, and he warned, kind of gave me the heads up of who the Miz was.
Hmm. What did you think about him when you first initially met him? Was he kind?
Well,
Was he courteous?
he was polite.
Okay.
I'll say that. And, I have two instincts. I read humans because it was 30 years, 34 years of my life.
Hmm.
I can read somebody just how they look. And when I met him, he was pleasant. He did nothing, but my instincts went, give it a pause,
Hmm.
give it a pause and see the next time,
Hmm.
So even though he was up and coming and stuff like that, I wasn't a fan basically in the beginning.
Hmm.
I didn't understand where he was coming from.
Hmm.
And through information through Kenny Bolin, I kept my distance.
Okay. Let me ask you something, Rico. What do you think about people who utilize the professional wrestling industry as a launching pad to get into Hollywood? What's your personal opinion about people who do that?
Well, if they're good at it, and I gotta say, Dwayne The Rock Johnson was excellent at it. He continues to be excellent at it.
Mhm.
And as you notice throughout these many years, nothing has come up against The Rock.
Hmm.
and as John Cena's done. Uh, John has done great. He's gone from WWE to Hollywood, but he was Hollywood before WWE,
Right, right.
and so he knows the game. And I worked with John Cena. Like I said, we were tag champions and we wrestled in WWE when I went up and he went up. So, uh, so it's been kind of a connection.
Hmm.
You go to WWE, and then if you have a chance to go to Hollywood, you go to Hollywood. Stone Cold, who I love dearly, I just don't think made the break from WWE to Hollywood in action movies. Now,
No.
The Expendables, one, he was very good,
Yeah, yeah.
very good as the heel, and he knows how to be a heel.
Hmm.
It's just the movies afterwards, I
Hmm.
don't think he had much say,
Yeah,
and it left a little bit kind of cut short.
yeah.
John Cena went above that a little bit because he was in several roles,
Hmm.
and I'm a Marvel guy and he was
Yeah.
in a Marvel movie, but he showed his diversity,
Hmm.
trying to, show himself as an actor, which I think he's very capable of.
Yeah.
His time probably hasn't come yet,
Hmm.
but I think The Rock has really set the standard. He put the bar here
Yeah.
where he went from WWE to Hollywood. And okay, the Tooth Fairy was kind of
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
a little bit of
And,
disappointment, but
and the Scorpion King because he was CGI'd into that entire movie. But the reason I ask
yeah,
is this, Rico, because a little bit of investigative work. The Miz was on a TV show before he became a wrestler. And I believe he made his
yeah,
entry via Tough Enough. And it appears to me, and this is just me. I just think now with the Rock situation, again, totally different. Maybe Hollywood came knocking on his door. Maybe the original intention was not to use pro wrestling to become an actor. Probably the same with John Cena. He experimented with it. He loved pro wrestling. I doubt it was a calculative move. But with The Miz, I'm wondering if the whole reason for his WWE career was because he wanted to become famous. Because anybody who goes on a reality show and then tries out Tough Enough and everything else, to me, that just seems like somebody who's looking for fame and fortune rather than doing something for passion. I'm passionate about the professional wrestling industry. I'm not using it to get into Hollywood. As you and I know, Rico, we've both been around that industry. It's not anything to be glorified. It's not worth many people's time at all. And I don't think it's quite anywhere near as rewarding as professional wrestling. You don't get that interaction with the fans. You don't get to be those perhaps guiding figures to a child who doesn't have a guiding figure. So my thing with the Miz is, do you think that his was a calculated plan? Because arguably he has, I mean, he's been in the WWE for many, many years, but he's never quite, at least in my opinion, he's never really quite gelled. He's just the Miz. That's it. He's just the Miz. What do you think?
well, what I think is, and there's times we disagree,
Mhm.
Master, and
Yep.
there's times we agree.
Yep.
This time I agree with your opinion because uh, he might have been looking for that and not talking to him. So this is just my personal opinion.
Hmm.
He wanted to be on an upper level, and he just climbed the ladder.
Yeah.
He was on a reality show, and he got into wrestling through Tough Enough. So he's looking for higher expectations,
Hmm.
to be the next Al Pacino, Dustin Hoffman,
Yeah.
stuff like that. When I went into professional wrestling, hello, Odin.
There's
Hello,
Odin. He
Odin.
just appeared like a shark out of the water.
Yeah, that's him. That's my
Yeah.
shark. Say hi.
Hey, Odin. Everybody say
Mwah.
hello to Odin, the Great Dane. Rico's
Odin,
Great Dane. There he is, the rescue, the man
my
himself.
rescue dog, my rescue.
Yeah.
So, well, as the facts are presented, I agree. He could be using this as a platform because I didn't see anything myself personally him as a wrestler. I
Hmm.
didn't. But the name, The Miz,
Hmm.
creates a want to know. It even caught me. The Miz. Who's the Miz? Who calls himself the Miz?
Yeah.
It just circles,
Yeah.
curiosity, which makes people pay attention.
Hmm.
So he could be using this as a platform, to reach the stardom of, like, well, my old stars, William Holden, you know, uh, Gregory Peck, John Wayne.
Hmm.
Maybe he's trying to focus on something like that,
Yeah.
and he's using WWE as a platform to kickstart him
Yeah.
because of what everybody else has done.
Yeah.
Cena, Rock, Stone Cold, you know, uh, who else? There's one more. Maybe Randy Orton did a
Rand,
couple movies. I
yeah,
think
he did a
Randy did a couple movies.
but his heart's with pro wrestling. That's what I mean.
Yeah,
If the
yeah. Well,
opportunity presents itself, you'll see the ones who are truly in it for pro wrestling and the ones that are not. Because the ones that are,
yeah.
like Randy, even Triple H was in Blade, right? So Triple H,
Blade 3.
Blade 3,
Blade
he did
3.
Blade 3. But he went
Yeah.
back to pro wrestling because their heart is in wrestling. It's just the whole thing with the Miz for me is I think you hit the nail on the head, and that is a great analysis of the Miz. What is it about this guy that makes him, a star in WWE? It's the name. Heck, they even use the WWE logo in his logo for the Miz. So he's playing on that because I like you, Rico. Nothing against him. What professional wrestlers do is an incredibly hard job. It's hard on the body, it's hard on the mind. They have to be creative, they have to be on their toes. So I have nothing but respect for the man that portrays the Miz character. But I'm just saying, in terms of the character, even as a spectator, when I was a spectator for pro wrestling, I could never understand it, Rico. I never got it. I still don't get it. What is the Miz? What is he? You
I
know?
I don't even know myself.
Yeah.
You know, it never solidified with me.
Mm-mm.
The Miz character. He
Mm-mm.
got on the mic, he talked, but he never solidified
No,
anything.
no.
To me, what were you about? Money in the Bank, uh, Royal Rumble. What are you about?
Yeah.
Are you in professional wrestling or you're not?
Mhm.
You can't be a master to two things.
No. And then
You
we
know,
know there's
you,
only
you
one master. We know that
well,
for a fact. Yeah.
that's you.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
But the other master,
yeah.
our Savior, Lord
Lord and
Jesus
Savior
Christ and
Jesus
God,
Christ. Yep. Amen.
you know, uh,
Thank you for that, Rico,
I,
because we need to be humbled in that regard. I am not,
yeah,
none of us, not Rico and I, are not anyone with it. We are just like all of you, but our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ is above us all. Okay. So let's get
yep.
that clear. Yep.
And we got that clear. And that's how I've lived my life. And I've told this before, and it's just God opens doors and God closes doors. The difference between myself and a lot of people is I don't try to go through the door that God closes. I go, okay, that's closed. Next,
Hmm.
whatever's next.
Hmm.
I don't know, but I look for the door that God opens. That's why I've been so blessed to do so many things in
Yeah.
my life. Law enforcement, gladiators, stuntman, Batman, in the Conan show, bodyguard, whatever I've done, and
Mhm.
people can look it up, and I don't want to repeat myself, but I listen to a higher power,
Yep.
you know. I'm trying to get a bead on the Miz, what he's actually trying to accomplish,
Yeah. So
and I'm going, did he sell his soul to the devil, or is he earning this? Is this the way God is telling him to go?
it's strange because coming back to what you said earlier, switching gears quickly, thinking about the Miz persona. What is the persona? What does it even mean?
I
I mean,
I have no idea.
But
None.
if he followed this instinct that you and I believe that he was seeking fame and fortune, that could be his character right there. The character, the guy that's just seeking to become a tabloid sensation, right? I mean, at least that would have been something. But I tell you what, the WWE did try something with him, and they tried it with a good friend of ours. In fact, a gentleman,
Oh, yeah.
a gentleman that I have I mean, so much respect for both professionally and personally. He's such a decent guy, true character, true, as far as I'm concerned, he'll be remembered in 50 years from now. I'm talking about
Yep.
Aaron
Oh,
Stevens.
hold it.
Okay.
I'll give his initials. We won't say his name. We'll give his initials. His initials are Aaron Stevens.
There you go. Aaron Stevens, the man who's,
Wonderful human being.
yeah.
Wonderful human being.
Yeah. Aaron, who's now, of course, in the National Wrestling Alliance, working alongside Billy Corgan. Check out the NWA. They're putting out some great content, true professional wrestling in every sense of the word, true wrestling characters. It's great to see that back. But Aaron was placed with The Miz. They were Mizdow when Aaron portrayed Damian Sandow.
Sandow. Yep.
Yep. And arguably, again, not biased just because he's a friend of ours, but Aaron carried the weight of the charisma and the entertainment of that team.
I agree with you totally. Aaron was the charisma. Aaron always had charisma. When I
Yeah.
first knew him and when he tried out for WWE, when I had a dark or no, I had a velocity or heat match with him,
Mm.
he came out gangbusters.
Yeah.
Took care of me, I took care of him. And like I said before, wrestlers don't let beginners or people trying out let them get their you know PG stuff in
Yeah.
because they're afraid they're going to outshine them.
Yeah.
Everybody that I know that was trying out for WWE, I let them get their stuff in. I
Mhm.
wanted them to showcase. That came from AJ Styles, you know, Daniel Bryan, Aaron Stevens, Ultimo, everybody.
Mhm.
I wanted them to showcase themselves against somebody who WWE considered a professional.
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
wanted them to look their best
Mhm.
and maybe they could get a job.
Yeah.
Maybe that's different than or goes against whatever the old unspoken rule is, but I always wanted to showcase people who were trying out.
Yeah.
And Aaron did a magnificent job. So did AJ Styles. So did Daniel Bryan, which they went on to have great careers.
Yeah, and rightfully so too. You know, we live in a world that has become populated with selfishness, and to hear that is refreshing. And that's a shout out to a lot of the young guys coming up in the business today. Some of these guys that also I work with. You know, there's nothing, being selfish. Yeah, at one time it may get you somewhere, but at the end of the day, that's going to come right back around and bite you in the butt somewhere down the line. It's not going to end well if you take
No,
that route. Everyone, there's a place for everyone in this business, even someone like The Miz. There's a place for every character in the professional wrestling world. But yeah, I just wanted to get that out there. But coming back to Mizdow and Aaron, one of the things that I never understood, and perhaps that's a question we can pose to Aaron when he comes back on with us, is why the WWE. I mean, we can only hypothesize why they let him go. Because to me, I just don't get it. If anybody, I challenge you now, if you don't know what Mizdow was, go back in time on YouTube, research Mizdow, Damian Sandow, and The Miz, and you'll see the chemistry is fantastic. Aaron's performances are stellar. I mean, he has the charisma; it's just oozing out of him. But for someone in WWE to get to release him with that kind of I just don't get it. And to keep The Miz, Rico,
I can tell you what it is right now.
okay.
Politics.
Hmm.
Politics. That's it.
Yeah.
Uh, Aaron is a gentle soul.
Mhm.
I'll tell you that right now. Uh, he's kind, he's giving, he is a wonderful human being,
Yeah.
and other people take that as a weakness, which is not his weakness, that's his strength. But they use him squeeze them out like a sponge, and then get rid of them,
Hmm.
and, somebody that young who's put so much time and effort into it, they want to come back and do good.
Hmm.
Me, I debuted at 40 years old.
Right.
So when that pressure came to me, and it was either don't accept the raise or accept the raise, I told Vince flat out, you don't give me my raise after 3 years, I'm gone.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I was gone.
Yeah.
Now WWE put it out as I was released.
Hmm.
Okay, but I know why I was let go, because
Yeah.
I asked for 1,000 more a week,
Yeah.
because I think I proved myself in my 3-year contract,
Hmm.
and they didn't think so. Okay, it's your company. What am I going to fight about?
Hmm.
It's your company.
Yeah.
So, okay, if you're not going to honor me with what I've done in two characters, two,
Yeah.
not one, two,
Right.
you know what? Thank you very much for the opportunity. I'll see you down the road.
Like you said,
And
politics, Rico.
yeah,
It doesn't,
politics.
we reflecting back yesterday, actually, we had Marty Jannetty on again on our other show, Masterclass, with McCallion and I. We had Pat and Marty together. And in that, we discussed, the severing of the relationship between Marty and Sean. And it was the deduction of it was the same thing. Politics came into play. You reach a certain level and, oh, this person's beneath me now. I can't, associate with this person, et cetera, et cetera. But coming back to the Miz now, to Aaron and the Miz, again, the Miz has seemed to be immune from being released. He's still with the WWE to this day, and that brings us to the subject matter. The American Gladiators. He is now going to be the
Oh,
yeah,
oh,
yeah, here we go now,
uh,
Rico. Here we go. So, here
uh,
comes The Miz, a man hungry for fame and fortune for years. And now they've made him the host of the rebooted American Gladiator series. First of all, when that news,
second reboot.
second reboot, my apologies, second reboot. Now, when that news came to you, what were your initial thoughts when you heard that The Miz now is going to be hosting the new show?
Me,
Yeah.
personally,
Yeah.
and selfishness, how the hell does he know anything about American Gladiators?
Yeah.
What? You didn't go through the show.
Hmm.
You weren't a champion. What makes you a host?
Right. Right. You
What
got to know
makes you a
something
host?
about it.
How? How? What? You're going to study tapes and stuff like that? No, I lived it. I was part of it. 1990. I was right after the pilot season, and the pilot season basically kind of was a dud, because whoever produced it concentrated on the gladiators instead of the contenders. And from the pilot slash first season to my season, they fired Titan
Hmm.
and Malibu,
Okay.
and they brought in two new gladiators, Turbo and Thunder. Okay. And then the show got picked up by Samuel Goldwyn and Four Point, and they got a new producer, Aton Keller, who is very smart. He produced America's Funniest Home Videos with Bob Saget. So I don't need to say any more than that. He's successful.
Yeah.
And he focused more on the contenders, what we were about, not the gladiators. And people got interested in that because we were everyday people. We
Right.
came from banks, we came from construction, we came from various backgrounds, firefighters, police officers. We were everyday people going against these five titans that Samuel Goldwyn and Four Point said they were the best athletes in the world. So, as I said before, I didn't care I was on TV. I didn't care about the money. Only thing I brought was my measuring stick
Hmm.
because of who I am. I said, well, you're calling them the best. You know what? How do I measure up to the best? And that's what I went in there for.
Yeah.
Nothing else. I don't care if it was free. I don't care if it was on TV, but I'm going to go against what you call the five best athletes because I know I'm better.
It was
And
competition,
that's what I went in with.
real
It was real
competition.
competition, real,
Yeah.
and I think that was the basically the first reality TV that ever showed up
hmm I think so.
right then and there.
I think you're absolutely right. And coming back to the Miz though, like when you make your argument right there, Rico, when you discuss, the passion and being involved and actually partaking in these events, you got to wonder again, if you're going to take someone from WWE, because obviously there's star power in that name, and make them the host, in my mind, and I'm not just being partial, everybody, because Rico is, my brother in Christ. He is my business partner here. But why wouldn't you pick Rico Constantino? I mean, Rico, I mean, and again, no disrespect to the Miz, but you have more charisma in you. I mean, in your little finger than the Miz has in his entire being. All right. And that's just me saying it. That's my personal observation, whether we were business partners or not. Okay. So I quite frankly, when I first saw this news, I was perturbed by it because I initially thought, okay, WWE is aligning themselves with American Gladiators. You have a former WWE Tag Team Champion, a former WWE superstar in the Ruthless Aggression era, who at the very least needs to be discussed in this topic. And I've yet to see that
Yeah,
in any press release. So,
no, and it's sad. When they rebooted the first time with Hulk Hogan and Muhammad Ali's daughter,
mhm.
they even brought Nitro back,
Okay.
not as a gladiator, but as a commentator. And Dan Clark, which is his real name, did very good. He did very good, but they brought a prior gladiator back into the first reboot,
Hmm.
and I don't know why. I've had the same phone number since 1998.
Right.
Okay. Everybody knows how to get a hold of me,
Hmm.
and for me not to be considered and they put somebody like the Miz in there, I don't care. I don't need to be on camera.
Right.
But as a consultant,
Yeah.
why wouldn't you bring me in as a consultant
Right.
to help the show go forward where it didn't flop
Hmm.
when it tried to reboot again?
Yeah.
No, yeah, now you're trying to make it America's pastime
Yeah.
again,
Mhm.
like it was in the history.
Yeah.
But you're not going to achieve that by putting new people in because they don't know. They have not experienced the true American gladiator platform.
It.
They weren't there when it was gladiators against a contender.
Mhm.
And it was true. It wasn't fake. It wasn't staged. I mean, you could just watch the seasons from two on, I think, to five, that the emotions were shown on TV. You saw the gladiators get really upset when they lost to a contender
Yeah.
and vice versa, because it was a true competition.
Mhm.
True. And when they second reboot with Hogan and Muhammad Ali's daughter, to me, that was an insult because
Mhm.
it looked like professional wrestling. And I've said this before, and I'm going to say it again. The American Wolf, I just couldn't stand.
All
I
right.
wanted to take him on and just show him. I wanted to do it for free. I put calls into Hogan, fly me out. I want to take this guy on in every event. I want to show him where he really stands
Yeah.
because now you're insulting the original American gladiators. And our prior guest, Lori Fetrick, said the same thing.
Yeah. You know
The
what?
same exact thing.
You know what, Rico, and I can hear some viewers out there, maybe some casual viewers, probably saying to us, "Oh, things change, things change." Because I think of pro wrestling when you're discussing this, Rico. I think about I saw a clip today from an indie match, And to be perfectly honest with you, it looked like a gymnastics performance. It was not professional wrestling. It was gymnastics. I don't know how a guy can fly across the ring, take an elbow to the corner, and then just the other guy comes out, shakes it off like nothing happened, and then they're doing backflips and cartwheels. Absolutely ridiculous. That is not professional wrestling. That is some form of gymnastics. But that is not us just complaining and saying, oh, this was another, things have evolved. No, things will still be, whatever brought it to the dance is what made it successful in the first place. And that kind of talent, that kind of thesis to any product survive. That's why McDonald's still has the same logo today, Rico, that they had way back when. They had the golden arches there. Um, you know, when the wheel ain't broken, don't fix it. And so I
No,
think the same thing with the American Gladiators. Will we see a more commercialized, more scripted TV version with the Miz at the helm? Probably,
I
probably.
hope not. I hope not, because it's going to flop again. And you know what I hope is that Aton Keller gets involved,
Hmm.
the original producer of my season, because that's the only way it's going to make it work.
Hmm.
Because
Yeah.
Aton understands. He produced America's Funniest Home Videos with Bob Saget for many years, and everybody loved watching those. He even produced the show I did in France,
Yep.
Conquer Fort Boyard.
Yep.
He
Yep.
produced that. And the only reason why that didn't take, it was just so expensive, going against Mother Nature with the high tide, low tide, the production crew, and what it took.
Mhm.
That's the only reason why it only had one season.
Yeah.
But Aton was the master of that.
Mm.
Aton really has his finger on the pulse
Mm.
of what the American public really needs to see.
Yeah.
And when he brought his ideas, the second season, to American Gladiators, that's what made the show a hit.
Hmm.
The
Yeah.
first season, like I said, I don't know who's producing it, but when Aton stepped in, uh, it became a hit series,
Yeah.
and it was actually real.
Yeah.
There was nothing planned, no emotions planned, but he had many cameras to capture everybody's emotion, the audience, the contender, the gladiator. And if you watch season two, that is raw talent, raw emotion right then and there.
Yeah.
I'm talking contenders. I remember Trish Tillotson and Diamond actually got in a fight. I mean, a real fight. Like, yeah, and the referee had to step back, Thompson, and let him go at it.
Wow.
So, you know, it was real. There
Yeah.
was hatred between this gladiator and contender.
Yeah.
And Trish Tillotson was no pushover.
Well, I tell you,
No.
I mean, it's going to be interesting to watch that space, but I want to do something right now. I want to challenge the Miz because we're going to find a way. And of course, any fans, any of our subscribers that are watching this, tag the Miz in this. Find his social media, tag him in this because we want him to see this video. If the Miz is claiming to be Mr. American Gladiators now, Mr. Host of American Gladiators, then he needs to do some research because I want to bet that he has not researched because if he had, he would have reached out to you, Rico Constantino. He would have reached out to you. He would have at least put out a statement somewhere saying, "Oh, it's an honor to be working in the same field now that my fellow WWE superstar Rico Constantino once was the American Gladiator champion." Right? I think at the very least, had he done his research, he would have found that. So I want to challenge. I want to throw this out to the Miz there. You know what? If you're going to become the Mr. American Gladiator host, then you need to get in contact with Rico Constantino. You need to acknowledge the fact that your fellow brethren for the professional wrestling trade that you claim to love so much. We want to believe that, Rico. We want to believe that The Miz is really in pro wrestling for pro wrestling and not just as a hopscotch into the world of entertainment, into the world of Hollywood. If you really are, then we need to address this. And Rico Constantino needs to be acknowledged in this new WWF branded WWE branded American Gladiators. That's what I want to put out there to the fans.
And if you want the show to be successful, why don't you go to somebody who was part of the successful part of the show?
Mhm.
Why wouldn't you want their knowledge? Like I said, I don't have to be on camera.
Right.
I don't have to be on camera. But if I'm a consultant
Hmm.
and tell him and advise him to be a better host, you know what? I'm happy with that role,
Yeah.
you know, to advise him and say, okay, this is what I experienced. This is, the show from then. You're trying to bring it back. It already flopped once on a reboot. Do you want it to flop again?
Mhm.
You need insider information. That's why movies, which he seems to want to do, movies, when they portray something like Casino or any movie, uh, Donnie Brasco, anything, they have people who lived the situation to give them consulting on how to make the movie more realistic, more towards a true story.
Yeah.
Do you
Yeah.
see what I'm saying?
Yeah. I see what you're saying.
So, at the least, why don't you have me as a consultant?
Yeah. At the very least.
WWE brethren, and somebody who's been there and done it and won.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you have me there consulting you?
I tell you what, Rico, but nonetheless, all of that aside, no one can ever take away the fact that you were the 90-91 American Gladiator champion. And that's going to stand for throughout the annals of time. It is marked down in the history books that can never be changed. And at the end of the
No.
day, like I said, you were part of the most successful run of the American Gladiators to this point. So time will tell if the reboot Mach 3 is any good. Time will tell if the Miz, you know, does his homework and researches and reaches out to you and gives credit where credit's due. And time will also tell in the history books to see if the Miz was really in professional wrestling for the love of pro wrestling, or was he really in it for the love of fame and fortune?
I can't say that, but those words are really well spoken, Master.